You're listening to Big World Network.
Subprimeval, Season 2, Episode 10, Evil Intent. Written by Robert S.C. Cutler. Read by Ryan Jones. Warning: although there is no material subject matter within that couldn't be found in any general bookstore with no age constraint, this series is rated 18 and contains adult situations and content. Freakshow stood beside Dr. Teray at the observation window as a team of doctors and nurses tended to Renee. Her arms, legs, body, and even her head and jaw were strapped tight to prevent unwanted movement, and for good reason. The drug they had administered to her for removal of the virus had dangerous side effects, including grand mal seizures. "I don't understand," Freakshow said. "What was the point of injecting an innocent woman with a deadly virus?" "It is not your job to understand, Agent Shaw. Your job is to follow my orders and not to improvise, which you did when you brought that injured woman to our facility," Dr. Teray lectured. "If you would have left her in Minnesota, she would be home right now, recuperating from her wounds, not near death in some cold laboratory." "I was only acting on knowledge given. Bad knowledge, if you ask me." Dr. Teray guided Freakshow away from the observation window and placed her arm around his shoulder. "You need to stop thinking with your heart and start thinking with your brain. You are a very intelligent individual, Agent Shaw. That is why I requested you assist me on our next phase of work. It will not be a pleasant task. It may cost many lives, but save a good deal more in the end." "You want me to inject more people with viruses?" "No. I'm sending you home to Wichita to open the floodgates of hell." Keith Stapleton walked into the dim, dust-filled tunnel ahead of two bickering engineers. His hard hat was slightly cocked to one side, and a combination toothpick/flosser that he had been chewing on for the past half hour dangled from his mouth. He slowed just a bit to allow the lenses of his glasses to transition from dark to clear, and then picked up his pace once again, just before the engineers ran into the back of him. "Would you please talk sense into this guy?" one of the engineers asked Keith. "We need to allow the water to recede another 10 feet before removing the next section." The second engineer pushed his way past Keith and blocked his path. "You are a complete fool, Randy. We will lose most, if not all, of our funding if we postpone the dig any longer." "Who cares about funding if we collapse the entire thing because we're in a goddamn hurry?" Randy yelled. "Listen to Mark, Randy," Keith said. "He's spot on about these state politicians. If they see even a gnat's ass of a chance that this project will fail, they'll pull their funding quicker than a dog chases after a bone. Now quit busting my balls. I've got a hole to dig." Keith continued down into the mouth of the excavation site, while Randy stormed off in the opposite direction, leaving Mark standing alone. Mark waited until both men were out of sight and pulled out his cell phone. "Only 2 bars, he complained, while looking up at the earth and rock ceiling. He put the phone up to his ear and waited impatiently for the person on the other end to pick up. "Project is moving forward," he said once the other line answered. "But that engineer is still a problem. Do you want me to take care of him?" Mark listened intently for the next directive. "Are you sure? I won't charge for it." "Understood. I'll keep him on a tight leash. When are you sending the kid?" "Our window of opportunity is closing faster than we estimated." "Good. I'll text him the rendezvous site." "Gotta go. That slob of a foreman is heading back this way." "Don't you have numbers to crunch or pencils to sharpen?" Keith griped. "Sorry to bother you again. It'll just take a moment," Mark said, stashing his phone. "Make it quick. My gut is on fire and I left my antacid in the trailer. I would like access to the drop-off below the grain elevator, so I—" Keith scowled at Mark with tired, bloodshot eyes. "Why in the hell would you want to go down there for? It's a goddamn death trap." "I'm assembling a special team of experts to survey the area to ensure we don't have any issues down the road," Mark explained. "What issues? The rock ledge? I thought there was a less than 10% chance of that thing collapsing. That's what all you mathletes said in the meeting not more than 2 weeks ago." "It's just a precaution, Keith. Randy brought it up again and I'm just trying to keep him stifled until we get to working on the next section." "Christ, do what you want, just don't get injured on my watch," Keith grumbled as he started to walk away. And don't expect to use any of my guys. Overtime is killing my budget and I can't spare any bodies. Mark waited until Keith was out of earshot and pushed redial on his phone. Cassie Shore walked up to the table where a customer had just been seated and took out her other pad. Without looking up, she asked if they wanted something to drink before ordering. When she heard the male voice ask for a Dr. Pepper and a splash of Sprite, she looked up with big wide eyes and squealed. "Hey sis, long time no see," Freakshow grinned. "Oh my god, what are you doing here?" asked Cassie. "You're clean shaven and your hair's all short and neat? What happened to you?" "A lot, actually. I'm gainfully employed now. Don't even smoke the wacky tobacco anymore." Cassie crossed her arms and narrowed her eyes. "You're shitting me. Devin Shore gave up weed?" "And everything else that made my life worthwhile." "What do you do? Who do you work for?" "Let's just say I'm a field representative working for a company you've never heard of before." Cassie crinkled her nose. "What did you just say?" "I can't talk about work. Let's just leave it at that." Okay. Are you moving back to Wichita, or are you just here on business that you can't discuss?" Freakshow took Cassie by the hand. "Sit down for a while, will you?" Cassie smiled and scooted into the seat beside him. "Just for a minute. If my boss sees me, she'll pitch one mean bitch fit." "If you leave town, is there someone you can stay with?" asked Freakshow. "Leave town, like on vacation?" "No, like forever." "You're not making any sense, Devin. Why would I move away?" "Mom and Dad are dead, and I'm all over the country. What's keeping you here?" Cassie smiled big and showed Freakshow the engagement ring on her finger. "I'm going to be Miss Jordan McCormick." "Wow, congratulations. Does this Jordan guy have a family far away from Wichita?" "His parents live in Missouri." "Good. That's where you and your future husband are going to be this weekend." Cassie laughed. "I can't go to Missouri. His mother hates me and I have to work." Freakshow laughed. "She hates you already? What did you do?" "Got pregnant out of wedlock," Cassie smiled. "Oh, that old chestnut. Is she the religious type?" "Fanatical freak, big time." Freakshow gave Cassie a big hug. "I'm going to be an uncle. Congratulations on meeting Mr. Right. Now pack your shit and get out of town." "Quit saying that. Wichita is where we were born and raised. All of my memories of Mom and Dad and us growing up. I can't leave. There's too much of me here." Freakshow looked Cassie directly in the eye. "Do you remember that thing that attacked us?" "Of course I do. It's in every other nightmare I've had." "It wasn't the only one." "Are you sure? They told us it was a freak of nature, some kind of mutated bear," Cassie said. "I've seen them, a lot of them up close and personal. I've even helped trap a few." "I don't understand. Why would you—" "Because it's my job," Freakshow said. "The country is about to boil over and Wichita's the epicenter. My employer has things planned I'm not allowed to discuss. Hell, I don't even know half of what's going on. They tell me one thing, do another, and then contradict themselves. It's like living in a circle of lies and there's no escape. If I stay with the agency, there's a good chance I could be killed in the field. If I dare try to leave, they'll put a bullet in my head." "They sound terrible. What on earth made you want to work for them?" "Not going to prison on drug charges with the intent to sell and distribute is a good reason." "Wow, Devin, you've always had the knack of getting into trouble. Are you telling me the truth, or is this some kind of bad joke?" "I wish I were joking, but the agency is real, the threats are real, and those creatures are definitely for real." Cassie's eyes filled with tears. "What should I tell Jordan? He just started at SwiftJet last fall and works 7 days a week. There's no way he can take off of work. I can't even leave here. Without this job, I won't be able to afford all of the baby doctor visits." "You don't have any other choice, sis. In a couple of days, there won't be a here. There won't be a Wichita." Freakshow drove up to the abandoned grain elevator with 3 other agents. He instructed the men to check their M4 safeties and clips, and then got out of the car on high alert. "Who are you trying to impress, Shore? Your daddy, Major Wallace, isn't here," one of the agents taunted. "Not trying to impress anyone, just trying to stay alive." "There aren't any of your boogeymen out here. Agent Kraft said they were all contained." "I've been around far too many of those things and know for a fact there is no containing them." Agent Mark Kraft walked out of the grain elevator's main entrance. "Agent Shore, Venice, Stewart, and Davis, cut the chatter and put those goddamn guns away. You're supposed to be a team of geologists and engineers, not a hit squad. Oh, And sure, don't get your panties in a bunch. Rest assured, every single creature has been contained. There hasn't been an attack in this site since the day of the Wichita flood. Freakshow and the other 3 men started to put their guns back into the trunk of the car, drawing more grief from Kraft. No, bring the guns with you, but keep them in their cases. What is this, your first day? Do you want the detonators now, or are we going to blow this thing remote? Asked Agent Davis. Bring everything. We've got to make it look like an act of nature. Deep below the grain elevator, all 5 men made their way down a rope ladder to a small landing on the shore of the underground river. A small generator-driven light illuminated the surrounding area and 2 small rowboats, each equipped with an outboard motor. Chances are great the motors don't work, so you might have to row. They were hit or miss when we were first surveying this stretch of the river, Agent Kraft said. You're not coming with us, Agent Kraft? Asked Davis. No, I'll be at the main entrance when you're finished with your task. And from this point on, you'll only refer to me as Mark, and I will refer to you by your first names. Each boat has a radio. Use it sparingly. You never know who's listening. Freakshow shined his flashlight across and down the river to see if he could detect the reflective eyes of any of the creatures. You said the creatures have been contained. Just how exactly did you accomplish this? We set up high-pitch frequency ultrasonic animal control boxes all along the river dig site and grain elevator. Do the boxes work underwater? As far as I know, they do. Freakshow removed his M4 from its case and set it down by his feet, advising the other agents to do the same. Agent Kraft shook his head and laughed. You've got some major PTSD going on, kid. Relax. The most dangerous things down here are the plastic explosives you're getting ready to set and your wild imagination. To Agent Kraft's surprise, the outboard motors started with ease. The boats floated away into the darkness, guided only by a spotlight on the front bow. Not wanting to be down in the dark all alone, Kraft climbed back up the ladder and headed along the old grain rail car tracks to make his way topside. Just before the first manhole opening, he heard the soft, soothing sound of an animal cooing. He stopped briefly to listen, but disregarded it as nothing more than his imagination. A few steps further down the tracks, he heard the sound again, this time accompanied by a low growl. Staring down the dark tunnel ahead, Kraft thought he saw movement. He switched on his flashlight and directed the beam along the tracks, gradually raising it up until the light reflected back no less than a dozen pair of eyes.
Music by Kevin MacLeod.
You're listening to Big World Network.